Yeah, so let us start with a revision of what we did in the last lecture. So, can anyone tell me what are the principles of object-oriented programming? Can you list down the principles of object-oriented programming?
Abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism.
Correct. So currently, uh, we also started with defining a class and we created objects, right? So can you prompt the syntax? Someone else now I want to answer. Hiba, are you there? Can you answer? How do I create a class in C++? What is the syntax? Yes, Hiba.
Yes, ma'am. Uh,
What
Ma'am,
is
I
the
wasn't
keyword?
there in the last class. I was absent.
Okay, Nidhi, can you tell me? Nidhi,
Yes, ma'am.
how do you create a class? What is the syntax?
Ma'am, we use the keyword
Which keyword?
class.
Class. Followed by
Name of the class.
name of the class. So class name. Then
Um,
what comes in the body of the class? How do you define the body of the class?
Ma'am, we have to write its
This is the body of the class, right? Curly brackets, open, close,
yes,
and semicolon.
and we can
What
introduce
else?
functions in between the class which we cannot in structures.
Okay. So do you remember more things? What is the part of the class? What are the two components of a class? Two
Data
components.
and functions.
So you will have data and functions.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you say data and functions, I talked about something known as access specifiers. Do you remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me ask someone else. Okay, Nidhi, thank you. Jahan, Jahan, can you tell me what are the access specifiers which are there? Yes, Jahan.
Hello. Ma'am, actually, I was not there in the last class. I went
Only
for
of you are not there.
vaccination.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Someone else can volunteer?
Public, private, and protected.
Okay, Namita. Public, private, and protected. But we used only two. That is
The
public.
third one I just mentioned, not written
Yes,
explicitly.
yes, yes. So is this correct, whatever I have written?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. The functions will be in public and the data will be in private.
Very good. So you have to make sure that your data is private. Okay, so I'll need to interchange this, right? And your functions are public so that the functions are accessible from outside the class, right? Because public means it is accessible, whatever is there under the label public, that will be accessible outside the class. And whatever is declared private, that will be inside the class. That will not be accessible outside the class. It can be accessed by the member functions of the class. The data can be accessed by the functions of the class. Okay. So these are the important concepts that we discussed. Also, one thing I want to tell you here is these data and functions together, they are known as members of the class. Okay. Let me use this word. You will find this word at many places, members. Okay. they are called as members of the class. So data member, member functions. Usually you'll find these words. Data is also known as data members because they are belonging to a class, so they are members of the class. And member functions. Okay, so these are the words which are used. Apart from this, we also saw special kind of methods, or these functions are also called as methods, right? So what are those methods? The setter and the getter methods. Do you remember? What is the use of
Yes.
setter method? What is the use of setter methods?
To instantiate the class member, data members.
Yes, to give some value to instantiate the data members. You use setter methods. And getter methods is used for extracting or obtaining the value of the data member.
The data members.
Fine. So these setter methods are also known as, there's an alternate name which I'll tell you now. It is also known as mutators. The changing. Mutate means change, right? Let me write it clearly. Mutator. Okay. To change something. They're changing, right? They're changing the data. Setting means you're changing the data, right? So setter methods are also known as mutators, and getter methods are known as accessors. So these are alternate names. Accessor or getter. You're accessing the values of the data members. So they are known as accessors. Okay, so these are the terms which you might come across in different books. Okay. Then this was how we created a class. Then how do you create an object of this class? How do you create an object of this class?
Class name, comma, the object name.
You use the class name, right? Class name. That means class name actually becomes a type. It is like a type. You say int a. How to declare a variable of type integer? You say int a. If I want to declare a variable of type class name, then I say class name C. Right? So this is how I do it. And how do I access the methods of the class? Using the dot operator.
Dot operator.
Right? So method 1, method 2, whatever, with the appropriate parameters. Whatever is there. Huh? One more thing I talked about yesterday is that the functions that I had defined, they were written inside the class, right? Initially. I can also write the functions outside the class. Yes or no? Let me switch back to that program which we were discussing. The functions which you have written in, I have written inside the class. Then what did I do? I made some change, right? This area function, can you see? This area function, I just declared it inside the class and I wrote it, I accessed it and gave it a definition outside the class. Right? So for that purpose, if I want to declare it outside, define it outside the class, then in that case, I need to make use of which operator? What is this operator called?
Scope resolution.
Scope resolution operator.
The scope resolution operator, which allows you to define it outside the scope of the class. Okay. And this scope resolution operator tells you that area is a function of the class circle. That is why it is circle : area. So area is from circle. Okay. So this is the syntax for defining it. It will be the return type of the function followed by the class name, scope resolution operator, and the function. Okay. So since it is belonging to class circle, instead of writing only area, you will write circle : area. Usually we write only float area if you use modular programming. But if you're using it as this function belongs to a class, then to access it outside it, you need to specify to which class it belongs to. Otherwise, it will not be able to identify. It will not be able to resolve that this function is indeed this of this class. So that is why you need to put this circle colon colon area. Okay. Likewise, you can define all the other functions outside. And what did I tell you? The standard way is you define it outside. If you define it inside, then the function is said to be inline. Then the function is said to be inline. Do you remember that? Whatever
Yes.
functions I have defined here, they are inline functions, except for area. Area is not inline. Now this new term inline. So what is the meaning of this term inline? It means, I'll just talk about the word inline in terms of this diagram. You should understand how it is. Yeah. How this particular inline thing works, inline function. So this is your main function. Okay. And there are other functions of the class circle. Okay. So circle function. So in fact, the circle function will come into picture when you create the objects. The functions of circle will come into picture when you create the objects of that class. So C1 is an object, C2 is an object, right? So when I write that function inside the class definition, so for example, setter methods are written inside, or the circumference method is written inside, then what happens is main has its own body. So these are the lines which are there, some lines, and then suppose you create some you give a call to this function, right? You create the objects, you're doing all that. This is the body of main, right? You're creating the objects. Okay. And then you are calling this set radius. So the moment you call set radius is an inline function. That means usually what happens is whenever a function is called, there is a jump. Do you recollect? Whenever there's a function called, there's a jump to set that function, right? To set radius. Set radius is a function in some other memory. So this is other memory. And this will start executing. And again, there's a jump back to main. That is what happens or no, usually. There's a jump to the function's memory area. It starts executing, running. And then once it finishes, the control is transferred back to main. That is what happens in the usual case. But radius is an inline function. And by inline, it means that whatever is the source code of this function, that is copied here, it is expanded here. Okay, so main, whenever a function is inline, then that function is from wherever it is called. So it is called from main. So there only it will be expanded. There will be no jump. So that source code is just duplicated here, and it will remain. The execution will take place in main only. Okay. And what will happen if there are a series of such inline functions which you're calling? It will keep on expanding. The main will keep on becoming a longer and longer and longer, right? Because everything is inline. So what happens with this kind of a construct is that inline functions, if they are short, then it is fine. Like these functions are very short. They are one-line functions. They are having only return statement, some small operations. Okay. But if you are having loops inside the function, if your function is very complex, then in that case, it is advisable to write it outside main and not to make it inline. Okay. Only short functions, simple functions should be written inside the class, so that this main does not become very, very long. Because if there are many loops and it has a complicated logic, then the main function will keep on expanding. And imagine you call that function many times. So what will happen? Main will be a very long function. It will take a long time to execute. Okay. So inline is not advisable if your functions are long. So for this particular class, it is fine because the functions are short functions. Okay. But the usual way is it is written outside. The functions which are doing most of the computation, they are written outside, except for maybe the setter and getter methods. Okay. So that is about inline functions. understand more about it, I'll be sending you a link so that you can read more about it. Okay, inline functions. Next is, once we have this, this is a simple class, this is how you do it. What we need to do is, let us do some more examples so that we get familiarized with it, comfortable with this syntax. Let us take another example. Okay, now let us create, take one of the examples of the practical. Okay, that is the class bank account. This is the question, right? Those who have done the practical yesterday. So these are the data members. This is given to you. These are the data members which represent the bank account. So you have to create a class called bank account, and you have to have these data members in the class. These 4 data members: the name of the depositor, the account number, the type of account, the balance amount. Okay, and you also have to create member functions. So member functions will allow you to assign the value, deposit an amount, withdraw an amount, and display name and balance. Okay, and then you have to write a main program to test it. So in this case, what you have to do is to assign initial values. What kind of function? So this is fine, right? This is fine. You have to create data members. You have to think about the type of each data member. Yes or no? The name. What will be the type of name?
Character.
You can create a string, right? String. What about the account number? It could be a string again.
Long int.
Long int or string. It is up to you. It is your design, right? Then the type of account.
Again,
String
string.
again.
String.
String. And finally, balance. The balance could be float or double.
Int.
Float.
Int name.
Float.
Float or double. Okay, fine. This is fine. Everyone has understood the type, right? Now we will move on to the member functions. The first member function is to assign the initial values. Okay, so you can have one single member function which will assign the initial values, or you can have 4 different setter functions. Okay, it is up to you. Now, since it's a complex example, for this you can take 4 single setter method with all the 4 values. Now, to deposit an amount. To deposit an amount, you have to write member function. So what will be the body of that? You have to think of the logic, right? So typically, if you want to write a function which will deposit amount, what will you do in that function? What is expected? You will ask, now how much
It
you want to
will,
deposit?
yes,
Yes, and then you will, what you will do?
increase
We
the
will.
balance by that much amount.
Correct. So that amount, you simply have to add the deposit
Add to
amount,
the
you have to
balance.
put the original balance. Correct. Similarly, withdraw. Okay, withdraw, you need to do one more check, because the balance should not be below the minimum, whatever it is. Okay, and then finally you have to display the one function to display the name and balance. So it's a display function. Fine. So let us write this, try to write this program now. Let us call it account.cpp. Okay. Let me just zoom in. Okay. What else I need? I need to have string. So I am using string also. Fine. I create my class account. Now, I need to declare my access specifiers, right? Private as well as public. Now, under private, I have my data members. So my data members are name, account number, type of account, type, right? And the balance. So whenever you are actually doing your practical in that lab session, please write it, make it a habit to type the program. Look at the scenario, visualize it, try to visualize it. Okay, these are the data members. These will be the functions. First write down the class and then you think of the logic that will come in as part of the functions. That's as simple as that. But if you just keep on looking at this code and download it from somewhere, I mean, I'm giving you this particular program, then it will be difficult for you to write from scratch. Okay, so that is why what I will do, I'll be doing this semester at least is, I will not be giving you the code for all the programs that we have. Maybe one program I will leave out, so that program you're writing on your own, then only you will get that confidence. Yes or no? Otherwise you are, you are just copying things and then last moment you don't know anything. That should not happen. Okay, so make it a point that you practice. So assign initial values, set okay. Here what we will do is, initial, we will say float b. Then we say, how do we write the initial setter method? What do we write in the setter method? Name is equal to n. Okay, account number equal to an. T is equal to, sorry, yeah, type is equal to t, right? And balance is equal to, now set in first function is done. Next function is deposit an amount. Deposit, simply say so. There are two ways of writing each of these functions. What are the two ways? One way is you
Int
pass
b.
the parameters. That is fine. Yeah. So this function, what we will do is, we will write only the signatures. Deposit, what else is there? Withdraw. Okay, and let us access it outside, write it in using the scope resolution operator. So that also gives you a practice of writing that functions. So I say scope resolution operator. So I will define deposit outside. So I say void. What will come next? The return type. I want to define deposit outside the class account. What will I do? Account. Very good. So the class name you will have, right? Then scope resolution operator. Then deposit. Okay. Now, deposit will take some parameter, or there are two ways of writing deposit. Either you put the parameter there or you take the parameter inside. Correct? So I can say then what do? Cin. There has to be some variable, right? So I say, or directly I can write Cin balance. Can I write this? No, I need one variable. Because to balance, I need to add some amount, right? So I need a variable. So I say float D or deposit or depth. Okay. This amount into this variable, I have to read the data, right? Whatever the amount is to be deposited, that has to be read into this variable. So I say Cin deposit. And then I say balance is equal to balance plus deposit, right? What else? The other functions. Withdraw. So void account colon withdraw. Now this again, copy this. So withdrawal amount.
मैम विड्रॉ के अंदर बैलेंस को
हम्म,
हमने इनिशियलाइज नहीं किया है तो वो चलेगा क्या वैसे?
when I say balance, it means balance the data member balance, right?
Okay,
Whenever
ma'am.
I say balance, it means the data member balance. Okay. So
Yes, ma'am.
even if you see the previous function, I have written here radius, return radius, or I have used that radius in the circumference, right? How, from where did this come? This came from here, correct? Are you
Yes,
getting it?
ma'am. Yes.
And here, here I will do a check because I need to check whether the minimum balance is there or not. What will be the check? Can anyone help me out with the check?
To check whether balance is greater than withdrawing amount.
Okay, so you are assuming that the balance can fall to 0. You are assuming that the balance can fall to 0.
Yeah, we can have two cases of having a minimum amount and then having.
So that depends on whether your account type is 1 or 2, or account type can be current account and savings account. In savings account, there will be some minimum balance. You can
Yes,
assume that. Yeah, you can assume that. You can assume that. Okay. So let me make it simple for now. You can modify this in your practical. For the case 1, you will have to check both the cases. Okay. So if I'm just making it simple for now. You can modify this. Let us modify in the practical. If balance is greater than withdrawal amount, then only I can do this.
Yes,
Correct?
ma'am.
Otherwise, what will I do? I need to tell the user. Just prompt
insufficient balance.
right? Fine. So withdraw is done. And finally, we have display. So what display says, display the name and the balance. Okay. You can display other things also. You can display the account type and all that. But if you want to use the account type, you will have to modify withdraw. Okay. First of all, let us do the simple thing, then see if we can modify. Display name. So I say void. Again, I use my syntax for accessing account, a member function from account. I say account colon colon. Account colon colon. Which function I want to write now? Display. I simply write cout. I say, what is that? Name. Right?
Ma'am, just one question. Like C, can we use puts? Can we use puts here?
Puts. No, puts is a function of IO. क्या है वो? stdio.h.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. What else is there? Balance. Balance. Okay. So let me define the main function now. See, all these functions that you all are talking about, like puts and all these, we'll have to see if there is some other file, because in IOStream it is not there. But what happened is, when we migrated from C to C++, some of the functionalities were later added by making it as, for example, math. Math.h is now CMath. Similarly, there will be some library for that. So you'll have to check exactly. I cannot comment on that. So if that library is there, then you can use puts. Okay. Whoever was asking that. Even you were asking about formatting. So for formatting also, there are some functions now, because point2f and all that is not there now. You don't have that format specifier string. In printf, scanf, you have that format specifier string, right? In printf. So that is not there here. You have cout and cin. That is the standard way of doing it. So if you want to do that kind of formatting, there will be some library. That header file you have to find. That is a job. That I want you to do, because these are small things. These don't matter much, but you can explore these things or not, right? Find the library where that function is, and if that library is available, you can use that function. Okay. But as far as our course is concerned, I'll be discussing only what is more relevant to OOP, because the course is about OOP and not C++. C++ is just a tool to do it, because it is supporting OOP. Okay, it is just a language that I'm going to use. I'm not going to teach the entire C++ to you. Okay, whatever is required, only that much I'll be teaching. Rest all is exploration. Please remember this, all of you. Okay. Then,
Ma'am, now I think we have to do cases.
which cases?
Number means one number will decide int I, and according to that I will process. If I is 1,
Yes, switch case that you're
so-
saying.
yeah.
So let us first create object of the class. Let me create A1, A2, A3, whatever. Then I say enter your choice, right? I say printf, sorry, cout.
Ma'am, see out.
Cout. Enter one. So okay, before that I'll print the menu, right? I say what is the menu? One is initialize. I'll just write initial details. Okay. Then 2 is, what is 2?
Deposit.
Deposit. Then 3 is
Withdraw.
withdraw. And 4 is display. 5 is exit. Okay. 5 is exit. Menu driven. Then what do I do? Enter your choice. I'll say C in I, right? So I'll declare the variable int I. I say C in I and then switch. Switch or if else, whatever you want to use, you use. Switch I. Case 1. Case 1 is for initial details. So what you will do is you will say A1 dot what was the function called? It was set initial. This is the function, right? For initialize.
Yes.
It was having some arguments. So these arguments you will have to read now. These arguments you have to read. So here there are two ways. That is what. Here I am passing the parameters because the usual way people write functions is by parameter passing. That I have mentioned in C also. Rather than reading everything inside. So this function I have written with parameters. So I have to read, but I need to have these values. So I have to read this from the user. I will not pass it directly. Now this also let me take from the user. So before I call set initial, I have to read those values. So in that case, what will I do? Now I will have to create those variables here also. Okay. So float. So remember, this is not the end of classes and objects. There are more things which will come after this. Okay, which will make it more and more better. This is a basic class that we have written. Okay, so string and all these parameters I have to write. So what I will do is I will create these string name hai account number. You can use the same names or different names. It does not matter. Those are something else, right? And just for understanding, I'm writing account number. Then what else was there? Type and balance, right? Balance is float. So what you will have to prompt the user here. So I'll just write this prompt again and again. Right. Enter your name. C in. Now I have to read the string. Okay, my name will contain spaces. If my name is containing spaces, what do I need to do? What is the change that I need to make?
Use WS.
WS.
No, which function I need to use?
Let me-
get line C in fine. Then what else? Name. Then you have the account number. So C out. I'll just copy this. So these will not have your spaces. What is this? Account number. So this is actually entering the person is opening an account. It is something similar to that. Okay. And then this is account number, and then you have the type. Okay. So this is
T, I think.
this was T. Then I say A1 dot, okay, before this balance. Opening balance. Okay. And here you will have, what will you have? B, right? So B, you will simply have C in. This is a float. And here you will pass all these parameters n comma a n comma p comma b. And once you do this, your initial function can be called. Then you write the break statement. Then you have the remaining cases. Case 2 is withdraw, sorry, deposit. So that function can be directly called. So I say a1 dot deposit because it is taking care of the updates inside the function, and reading and all it is taking inside the function. Next, what else is there? Case 3.
Withdraw.
So similar to case 2, we have case 3. Case 3, withdraw. And case 4 is display. Display also we have defined. And finally, case 5. Okay, and that wrong choice and all I have not done, that you can do. Okay. Then what we will do, we will run this. Is it done? Our program? Is it complete? So
Bracket.
which brackets? I've forgotten some brackets.
And after each case, we are writing more than one line, so we have to give in quotes, bracket quotes. After case 1, we have to give one opening and closing bracket. After case 2 also.
But for multiple lines.
Yes, ma'am.
No. Quotes means you mean curly brackets? like this.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you are saying code, so I got confused. Okay.
And we also need a loop, right?
Loop, if you want to take multiple accounts, then what we will do is we will create array of objects.
Oh no,
We'll have
not
to create an-
multiple accounts. If the user wants to use the same account, but yeah, you'll have to
Okay.
define a user
Yes,
controlled loop,
yes,
right?
yes. You can put this switch case inside a loop.
Yeah.
That we will see. Enter your name. Okay. Enter your name. I have not put a new line and all that properly, so you will have to modify this. Initial details is name, account number, account type, okay. So I need to keep on doing that because this is of no use, this program, right? So what I will do is I will put this inside while loop. Do you want to continue? I will ask, okay? So here I will ask, see out, do you want to continue? Right? So if I say yes, so if the result is 0, you break. Response is 0, you break. Right? If the response is 0, you break. If you want to continue, you say you are asking him to press 1. Okay. That you can take string, anything you can take, that depends on how you write it.
Ma'am, we have 5 for exit, right? So we can just put a check outside whether the switch parameter is 5 or not. So if it's 5 only, then it will break out of the while loop.
Yeah, you can do that. I forgot about 5. Right. I'll have to ask again then. Okay. Yeah. I'm doing it twice. Correct. Enter your account number and type of account, whatever. Enter your name. No, there's some problem. Do you want to continue? Again, it is asking enter your name. Wait. Okay, I'll just exit this. No, I need to take the response again. Correct. So this actually has to come inside now. This has to come somewhere else inside also, right? Because see, I am not reading I again. I have to read I now again.
Yes, ma'am.
So either use do while or I take it inside again.
Or we can just check whether I is equal to 5 outside the switch scope.
No. I have to read I again now.
Oh, yes, yes. To
That
get the
reading is
option.
done outside the loop. That is why it is not working. Reading has to be inside the loop, na? Enter your choice have to be taken inside the loop. So otherwise it is going to remember the old choice and keep on continuing the same choice. That's it. Okay, very bad. Enter your choice. Now I say 2. Again it is saying enter your name. In deposit, enter the amount it has to say. Wait.
Ma'am, I think you entered 1 as the option.
I entered 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh God. Okay. Account number. Type. Enter the amount to be deposited. Now it is fine. Yeah. Do you want to continue? Yes. If I say yes and I ask to display, then it should show the updated amount, right? So it is, when I go to display, it is showing the updated amount. So 12112 2000 you have added, so it becomes 3212, right? So it is working. So again I say yes and I say withdraw, and I want to withdraw the entire amount, or I'll say more than that. Then it will say not allowed, right? Insufficient balance. Fine. So this is how it works. It is working. So this is about one object. You can create multiple objects. Do you want to continue now? No, I do not want to continue. So it has stopped. You can create multiple objects, or you can create an array of objects. So you can do it for n such accounts then. Okay. How will you do for n such accounts? You need to create an array of objects. Okay. So that I will show you next time. Only thing is, beyond this loop, there will be one more loop which will come, which will take care of the n objects which are there. Okay. Or another way to do it, you will have one loop which will initialize the objects first, and then you will provide these options: deposit, withdraw, and display. That is better, right? You initialize all the n objects first. That means the initial details, and then you for the switch, this loop, you will have only these 3 options: deposit, withdraw, display, and exit. 4 options. Exit. Okay. So this is about this program. So I'll just upload this. You can modify it accordingly. If you are having your lab session today, you can use this. And with the help of this program, the other programs can also be done, because this covers the entire concept of as far as practical 1 is concerned. The first experiment is concerned. Okay.
Ma'am, we didn't do anything with A2.
We didn't do anything with
A2, like A1 dot everything we wrote, but what about A2?
that is what I'm saying. So you can create n number of objects, or you can create an array of objects. If you're creating array of objects, then in that case it will be better, na? So you can say ask the user enter n number of objects, and then for which object you will ask, which user you want to change the account. Correct. So for you want to change it for A1 or A2, which one? A of 0, A of 1. Okay.
Okay.
So that part is not there here. See that this is just simulation. This is just simulation. The main part of your code is writing this class and then being able to call the functions. Even for a single object, if you are able to do it, is fine as far as this program is concerned. Okay, but definitely I will explain about array of objects tomorrow in tomorrow's lecture. I'll continue with this example and then maybe I'll take one more example for telling you about array of objects.
Ma'am, can we use structure to structure and then we can store it as a database? So then every time a user wants to take a specific data, we can just compare account number, something like that.
Store it in the database, you mean files?
Not a file, like a structure.
No,
Probably.
we will create an array of objects, no? See,
Yeah,
we will
that we can create in
array
a structure, right? So that it will be like a database altogether.
See, your structure in C and structure in C++ is a little different. Your structure in C++ can have the data, the function also inside the structure.
Okay.
Okay, in C, whatever you have learned, C++ is a little different.
Okay,
Even
ma'am.
as far as structure is concerned. So let's not jump to that. Let's stick
Okay.
to classes only and then do it. Why are you? What do you think is the advantage of using a structure here? What according to you?
So if I go by the C approach, I'll have a database made of all the account numbers that are there.
Exactly the same thing you can do with classes.
Okay.
I will have a database made of all the account numbers first using a loop. Yes, for
Yeah,
loop,
yeah.
while loop, any loop, n times it will run, and then you will call the remaining functions for deposit withdrawal. You'll ask which customer's account you want to do. You will say customer 1, or you will enter the name. Then you will match the name. You will match the name,
Okay.
right? And then you will
Yes.
find. Yeah, the same thing you can.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, even if we don't put all the statements in of the case 1 in brackets, then also it will show the same output, na? Because if it is case 1, then it will run all the statements till it reaches the break statement, na?
The bracket. You are telling I should remove the bracket.
No, ma'am, I'm telling that even if the brackets are not there, it will perform the same thing.
It is not allowing me to do it without the bracket because there are multiple statements.
Okay, ma'am.
Why are they joining the call again? The lecture is done, no?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.